I'm gonna say the good old answer, like it depends. I really feel like it was interesting to see this actually with Threshold. I talked to a lot of people who told me that they were like surprised in a good way that you could make a game starting by the end. Basically, my idea was just to have that rain of animals, and the whole game, the whole plot and everything is just a pretext to make the counter build up enough numbers of animals. That was the only reason for that game to exist. So at first it was supposed to be like a 5-minute game, happening in an American suburb or something, and very different, feel. And at some point I felt like, because 5 minutes would be enough to prove the point and to crowd actually the place with a lot of corpses. But it felt like I wasn't, I wanted to also prove to myself and to people that I was able to do a good job on different parts of game development, I ended up feeling like, okay, I need to do more. I need to do an actual game, with a proper narrative and proper an intricate design, even though it's quite simple, So it was just coming from that, staging idea, that visual element that I wanted to bring to the table, and everything else was just, built on that idea. It's not always gameplay first for a game.
There are some extremely unique ideas in there. Getting oxygen by biting into the canister is certainly a unique one, considering it hurts you as much as it helps you.
Yeah.
One of my favorite comments is like, "Oh, is this the game where you bite into the oxygen tanks?" Like, I love that game. That must be what it's known for.
Yes, it's actually these things came a bit, during development. I knew that I wanted to make the story happen in a mountain because it's remote. We can, it feels more legit that something would be hidden there without people knowing, because there's not a lot of people going into the mountain. So I think that was the first reason why I put it in there. And then came the oxygen idea, because I really like to put pressure on the player. And for a game like that, with a climax at the end that is really based on anxiety and tension, it felt like it needed a bit of a build-up, and pressuring the player is a good way to achieve that, to reach that goal. And then came the way to get back oxygen and I had two options. Basically, it was you walk on a capsule and it does a effect and that's it, and it's not super I don't know, it's great in games with a fast pace or whatever, but I wanted to have something that felt really grounded and really even if something cool happens to you, it's not that cool. And I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I went to that glass idea eventually.
Mm-hmm. This may be this kind of continuation of, how do you know, what makes the game start being made? This may be as hard to define, but just because you've been through multiple development cycles and now you've done your own. When have you noticed, or have you noticed any similarity between the process working for somebody else and working for yourself, where you're like, okay, now I feel like the game is finally working. It's not just a concept. It's not just a slice. Is there any kind of moment, a critical mass, where you're just in sort of raw game terms, you're like, okay, this has enough mechanics to feel like an experience? I mean, obviously it's different for, depending on what you're making. You're making more of what some people call a walking sim, whereas, Dishonored may need 15 different powers going at once before you can feel like you've made the game. But I don't know if you had any kind of spot where you're like, okay, I know what I'm looking for as a game designer when I feel like I have enough stuff to work with for this to be fun for somebody else too.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm not sure I would be able to answer that for a AAA, because I never ended up, for the big scheme, because I was never in the position for that, to know. But on the scale of a level, when I was working as a level designer at Arcane, I already could feel that, okay, now, we've got everything is in place. Now it needs some polish. It's hard to actually know when it happens. I mean, you are not alone, on AAA. So the narrative team gives you, a framework, and you, at some point, you know that you've managed to build everything within that framework. And at some point you get, okay, I can't go further than that. You are limited by space on time, both from the game and the production. And for Threshold, it was a bit different. It actually went through a lot of playtests. Like there were like 48 playtests for the game, like individual ones. It was really like casual. Like I sent it to some friends, and they were playing. They played, and some gathered videos for me. Some just wrote some stuff. It was like very freeform, and actually some really, sometimes it comes from stupid things, like there was a critical thing. There was something that felt really missing in Threshold for a long time in development. I was missing something in the loop. Basically, there was nothing to push you to, explore on. At the same time, push the train. At first, you just had to push the train and push the train and push the train until it reached the maximum speed, and boom, voila, it's the end.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to, explore. It felt wrong. And a friend of mine told me that playing the game back then reminded me of working at McDonald's. So it just said that because there was when the ticket machine, the punch ticket machine finishes to print a ticket, you can grab it, and if you don't grab it, there's like a beep sound, that tells you get the ticket now.
Yeah.
And he just said that. He said, "Hey, it feels like I'm at McDonald's again," and I was
I worked at McDonald's. I know what he means. Many years ago, of course.
Yeah, well, I got it as well, and I felt like, okay, there's only one alarm. I'm gonna bring more alarms to the game, more sirens that require you to be everywhere and be under constant pressure, basically. And that's how the idea of having the pace that you've got to meet, that you are forced to comply to. That's how the idea came, So you couldn't just push it too fast when you wanted to. You've got to meet what the capital asks you to meet in terms of train speed. And that allowed so many more things to happen, to be, it unlocked everything. That phrase.
I love the phrasing that you use in it, things like expected pace and stuff like that. Those are the sorts of phrase that a large corporation would really use in reality. Yeah. That they would take something, turn it into a phrase, and then that phrase can then be put into documents and job descriptions and stuff like that.
I tried to.
Yeah,